You know, I've been saying it for a long time now, and I'll say it here on camera. Making a Venom movie that has nothing to do with Spider-Man, it makes about as much sense as making a Catwoman movie that has nothing to do with Batman, or a Steel movie that has nothing to do with Superman, or an Inhumans TV show that has nothing to do with Fantastic Four. Oh, wait a minute, they made all of those things, and they all f***ing suck! You're dead! What were you f***ing thinking? Oh, God, this movie, I need a drink.
Yeah, I'm as speechless as he is. Maybe not to the point where it's just like wondering what the hell were these people Well, there is an element of what the hell were these people thinking here, but what in the world did I just watch?
Oh my God, I think my brain cells died.
Now, let's just get this out of the way.
It wasn't as bad as Batman v Superman.
Yes.
Because this at least has some entertainment value. But
Unfortunately,
that entertainment value, oh God, you're not laughing with the film, you're laughing at it.
pretty much, it is, I laughed a lot through this movie, but it was pretty much just the utter absurdity of just what I was witnessing. Oh my God, they thought that this was a good idea.
You know, Sony, if you really, really wanted to do a Venom movie, you should have worked something out with Marvel Studios, to maybe have Spider-Man get the symbiote costume in Infinity War 4, then have him do a solo movie with the costume, because you're doing the Spider-Man movies, and then do the Venom spin-off. Hell, maybe have him fight Venom first, and then do the Venom spin-off, because Spider-Man is his whole motivation, you numbnuts!
I mean, I'm just sitting here just wondering. It's well, but then again, Sony wouldn't do that because they were the ones that thought it was such a good idea after the first two Spider-Man movies and said, you know what, we can do this just as well as Sam Raimi can.
You mean after the first 3 Spider-Man movies?
Well, I mean, considering what we heard behind the scenes about how Sony really tried to have their way with Spider-Man 3.
Just, we have to have Venom in this.
We have to have Venom instead of having the Vulture, and it being enough where Raimi pretty much was just like, you know what, I'm done. I think I've done 3. I think I've done a pretty good job on all 3 of those, and I think I can leave it lay. And then, of course, the Amazing series.
Less said about those, was that better?
Yeah, I know those movies have their fans, but, again, I always remember, very first thing I walked right out of the theater when I saw the first Amazing Spider-Man movie, I was just like, they rebooted the Raimi films for this? Really? It is incredible to me to see a company that had the winning formula pretty much from the beginning with a franchise, and then just completely
jerk off to it.
Yeah, well, that and just completely ruin it by making just such stupid ideas. You had 2 of the best superhero movies of all time for Spider-Man 1 and 2 with Sam Raimi, and then you decide, oh, it's time that we need to step in here. What in the world was that logic? And yeah, Venom was always kind of in their plans, even pretty much kind of right at the beginning of this whole thing.
Well, they wanted to do a Venom movie since Spider-Man 3.
Yeah.
But you really should have waited longer and worked something out with Marvel, because Venom in this context just does not work.
Let's just talk about it. All right, let's first talk about it. Okay.
Let's talk about Tom Hardy. For what he's given, Tom Hardy does a good job. He is trying his ass off to do what the script wants of him. What the script wants of him is to be an Adam Sandler-like schmuck that overacts, and when he's under the symbiote's control, he's evoking Shia LaBeouf in Revenge of the Fallen. Like oh my god!
Wow, that's
he's like on a constant drug trip.
not inaccurate. Not inaccurate. Not that I know what that's like, of course, but it is remarkably absurd just where this whole thing kind of just has gone with this movie. But I will point out he's probably the only one worth of note of talking about. Everyone else in this movie really feels like a non-entity.
Riz Ahmed and
it just like
of all the villains you could have put Venom up against, you pick Riot. You pick now. Who is Riot? Riot was one of 5 symbiotes that were spawned from Venom in Venom's first miniseries, Lethal Protector, and they returned again more prominently in Separation Anxiety. The leader of those symbiotes was a female called Shriek. But, nah, we'll just pick this guy. Yeah, this guy.
I mean, again, it's just the associates or executives deciding, oh, we can do it this way. And the unfortunate thing is it did very well at the box office this weekend, which I think surprised everyone. Pretty much for months we're basically saying that this movie was going to, that this movie was going to suck. And then all of a sudden, it opens up and yeah, the reviews are pretty bad, but people went out and they watched this movie.
Oh my god, the audience score. Why is this thing higher than Crazy Rich Asians?
I have no idea. I mean, I'm not going to try to be the supremely negative person here because I was entertained by this movie, but
for all the wrong reasons.
Exactly. I feel like again, and I'm still going back and forth between it being whether or not it is truly so bad it's good, or whether it's just terrible. Like, I had fun with this. I just have to wonder if I would have as much fun with it if I saw it again, and I'm not sure about that at this point. But yeah, I mean, Tom Hardy. I mean, we have seen Tom Hardy be a good actor in pretty much everything we've seen him in. Either Bane in Dark Knight Rises, Mad Max in Fury Road.
But what about Clone Picard? It's so easy to forget he was in that movie.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. But whatever. I mean, there are people out there.
Like, I think even he wants to forget he was in that movie.
Fair point. But seriously, it's really just. I mean, and even just seeing the whole thing just flash up at the beginning, saying in association with Marvel. It's like
which these non-MCU films have been doing for a while.
Well, it's true, but I don't think I remember seeing it so prominently that it's in association, where it's written out in association with. I think everything else that I've seen that was not MCU just still says a Marvel. Yeah, exactly.
Not Marvel Studios, just Marvel.
Just Marvel, right? And speaking of Marvel, well, we'll get into that maybe towards the end, but moving on from that. But still, this was just, I mean, okay, my experience with Venom is pretty much kind of very, very minimal. Like
I have read the comics, or at least the stuff from the 90s.
I at least know of Venom to know that he was always sort of like this, and I always kind of thought of him as this dark reflection of what Spider-Man was, which I don't think is too inaccurate to say. It is.
He's a villain / anti-hero.
But then it just feels like that everyone is so hung up on him. I mean, again, there are people out there that like him. There are people out there that don't like him. It's always just like, hey, you've got a bunch of really good... I always just chalk it up as, hey, you got another unique villain for your rogues gallery in Spider-Man with that. I mean,
when I was first getting interested in Spider-Man in the early 90s, like the first couple of years, Venom was the first villain that I latched onto because it's an evil Spider-Man. There's something so appealing about that.
Oh yeah. I mean, to have that power, all the power but none of the responsibility. I think that's a good way to describe
That's a
it.
good way to describe it, indeed.
It's just, and again, it's like, again, how we said it, it's just like all these movies that have been made, and they do drop a couple references to other, to kind of the mythos a little bit, like
John Jameson is
like John Jameson,
sort of.
John Jameson, yeah, they just call him Jameson at the very
But
beginning.
you know who it is. It's John Jameson.
It's John Jameson, can I also mention the fact that moving the setting from New York to San Francisco is just it just never made any sense to me. Like, you've already got, like, with one Marvel hero, you've already got, like, you've got Scott Lang already out in San Francisco in the MCU, so it's just like you're trying to now have another San Francisco-based hero with Venom. It's just like, what? Really? I honestly don't. And here's another thing that kind of made me raise an eyebrow. The spurring force that winds up kind of spurring the action in this was Eddie basically overstepping during an interview, and that's what gets him fired.
And he's speaking as an aspiring journalist himself.
Right. I have never heard. It just never seems right to me.
He did look at something confidential.
He did look at something confidential, and that's definitely something that should be he should be disciplined for. But at the same time, he didn't leak it. He didn't say where he got it from. I mean, they knew who he got it from, and at least I'm assuming that's what they figured once they figured out who Eddie was possibly sleeping with. But that's another story altogether. It just didn't make much sense to me that kind of thing would pretty much torpedo his whole career. The only kind of thing that would torpedo a journalism career like that would be something like Daniel Glass from I keep forgetting if it's Broken or Shattered Glass. Shattered Glass, thank you.
The Hayden Christensen in a good role.
But no, I always go back to that because that is one where that is pure fabrication, and that pretty much made his name mud. So it's just like, what, he got fired for asking a couple of because he stepped on some toes, and it's just like, okay, if it was like, I could believe it if it was, say, I don't know, if it was Wilson Fisk, I could believe that. Because, we kind of saw that in the first season of Daredevil.
The Life Foundation is from the comics, and it played into the Lethal Protector thing. They're the ones that extracted the 5 symbiotes from the Venom symbiote.
But, yeah, it just overall, it just felt like, again, the first half, yeah, it really does feel like it's as boring as people have said it is. Like, it does pick up once Venom attaches himself to Eddie, but at the same time, it's like...
And the frustrating thing with this relationship with Eddie is that it's like the symbiote is calling all the shots. He is using Eddie like a puppet. In the comics, they both had a mutual hatred for Spider-Man. Let's go to...
And there it is. There's the problem.
Yes.
There's the key problem with this movie. Like, it's a mutual hatred of Spider-Man that spurs both Eddie and...
the symbiote.
His
other.
As it's called.
It's not named Venom. It's certainly not a name that he was born with on a foreign planet on some other galaxy. It just happens to be named after an Earth word for poison.
Yeah. That makes sense.
It's his other. It's the Venom symbiote, but they call themselves Venom. That's really another thing. They're constantly referring to themselves as plural because it's the two of them. But yes, what spurs the hatred in the comics is that there was a major Spider-Man storyline involving a killer called the Sin Eater. And Eddie Brock was a reporter covering that story, and this is all behind the scenes. This was all, we only learned about this when Venom was introduced.
Fair enough.
But, so like basically a retcon.
Like who could have known this at the time?
Right. Exactly. There was no Eddie Brock in that original storyline, but I'm getting off topic. He was approached by someone who said that they were the Sin Eater, and they gave him a story, and he ran the story, and it was a big breakout.
Which I should point out that the newspaper that he originally worked for is referenced in this movie.
The Globe?
Yeah. So it's just like, again, they are paying homage a little bit to the Spider-Man mythos, but again, without a Spider-Man, this whole thing just feels so hollow.
And so he breaks the story, and then Spider-Man catches the real guy. And Eddie Brock is now discredited. And none of this is Spider-Man's fault. None of this is even Eddie's fault. But he blames Spider-Man for this whole thing, and he's stuck writing tabloid stories, junk stuff that he hates, and he considers suicide, and that's when he encounters the symbiote. And through their mutual hatred of Spider-Man,
because Spider-Man had been attached to the symbiote previously.
Exactly, everybody knows that.
Like, I mean, it is amazing to me just how much is being.
But here, the symbiote clings onto him and is like, "You are going to do my bidding." And by the time we reach the third act, it's like, "Actually, I'm going to help you save humanity because on my planet, I was kind of a loser."
Because reasons, basically.
On my planet, I was kind of a loser. What the and it's so hard to take that kind of line seriously coming out of this deep, growly voice. Oh my God!
I mean,
on my planet, I was kind of a loser.
It's frustrating. It really is. This movie was frustrating, and I think just the whole idea of just going full steam ahead with this idea that we can make an entire Spider-Verse of
movies that have nothing to do with Spider-Man.
Exactly.
You were gonna do Silver and Black, which I think I heard is just gonna be 2 separate movies now.
I don't know what's going on.
You're doing
this,
Morbius with Jared Leto
because they're doing because this movie did so well, and I think unexpectedly for them, they're probably going to go full steam ahead with some other movies.
Oh God! If you want to do a Morbius movie that has nothing to do with Spider-Man, make it part of the Blade series. Of course, they can't do that because that's Fox. But oh my God, just
it just. I don't know. I don't know where else we can talk. We can take this conversation at this point.
Lady Venom. Now, to the film's credit, this is something from the comics where the symbiote bonded with his ex-fiancée.
Faint praise as that may be.
But her usage in this, oh dear. You ever want to see someone make out with a symbiote?
There are people into some pretty odd crap out there. So.
Oh God, the hentai.
And then the last thing that I think that we should go.
Oh, our little mid credits scene.
Stephanie, if you could please.
Yes. Hello. Spoiler. So, and this was so predictable. Eddie gets a meeting with a convicted killer. One red-headed Cletus Cassidy.
Played by Woody Harrelson.
In the most ridiculous mop of a red wig. He looks like a clown.
Like, why didn't you just get Bill Skarsgård in there to do that?
That actually would have been a good casting choice. Oh my God.
And look, nothing against Woody. He is
Woody is fantastic.
He's a legendary actor for a reason, but still.
He's kind of old to be Cletus Cassidy.
Just.
I don't think he has the right build for Cletus Cassidy, and that cornball line, "When I get out, there's gonna be carnage." Oh my f***ing God, how corny can you be?
Suffice it to say, this is not one of our favorite movies of the year.
And one of the weirdest things you could put into this movie, we're sitting through the credits,
yes. Oh God, I almost forgot.
If something else is going to be at the end, and we're looking at the soundtrack, and it says music from Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Like, wait, what? What's going on here?
Into the and then it says, "Meanwhile, in another universe," a little comic book caption, and we are treated to like
a 5-minute preview.
A 5-minute preview of Into the Spider-Verse with no connection to what we just saw.
Nope.
It's not a tie-in. They just stuck in a fucking preview, and it's part of the movie. It's because the credits continue after that. Yep. You're not cutting that out of the DVD.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm still excited for Enter the Spider-Verse, and everyone said from New York Comic Con over this past weekend was extremely positive about it.
But didn't they screen like the first 30 minutes of the film there?
Yeah, that's what they said, and everyone was saying. A lot of people that I was following on Twitter who was up at NYCC were saying, guys, this movie is the real deal here. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. But this, who thought that? No. We know who thought this was a good idea. Avi Arad thought this was a good idea.
And Amy Pascal.
I mean, it's just frustrating. Suffice it to say, I'm not going to be revisiting this anytime soon.
Oh God.
But that wasn't the strangest thing that we learned about today. Here's the other big thing. There's the strange news that came out. The news, changing the subject right here.
Changing the subject. Going off rails.
Yeah, a little bit, but I think it kind of ties in right here since we're on the Marvel topic. The news breaking today, according to the Hollywood Reporter, that James Gunn is officially jumping ship to the DC Extended Universe.
To do a reboot of Suicide Squad.
Of all things. It's just I think everyone who was smart that thought that if Marvel wasn't going to, well, let's be fair. If Disney, if Iger and Alan Horn didn't wise up and go to Disney, Warner Brothers were going to swoop right in and snatch him up and have him work with DC. And I had him pegged for Green Lantern, but okay, Suicide Squad, maybe. I don't know.
How do you reboot within a shared universe?
Flashpoint.
This is true enough, yes. And of course, David Bautista is, rushing to get on board with that project. I could see him as a good Killer Croc.
Yeah, we had to do something to get off of the topic a little bit because this movie.
This movie hurt.
Yeah, it's not nearly as painful as Batman v Superman was. But boy, oh boy, this one was really just kind of.
This is something to watch when you're high.
Yeah, considering that we had some stoners in the movie, I think that's kind of accurate. Oh, geez, what a freaking film we just watched! And well, I would probably say that the best thing about it were the previews that we got. We had Captain Marvel in there. We had Enter the Spider-Verse as the last trailer. We
Dark
had
Phoenix.
Well, they can't all be winners. And then, surprisingly enough, there was Glass. The
Shazam.
And Shazam was another one. But I think that the surprising one was Glass. The double sequel to both Unbreakable and Split, because all three of those main characters, are in this trailer. And, if nothing else, you kind of have to be grateful of that because you've got basically a sequel to two of his good movies. Because people did actually like Split quite a bit. I mean, they must have, otherwise why is he even here? Jeez. it's you just don't know what to do with this, and honestly, it's frustrating.
And I actually found myself at one point, it's in the middle of this big car chase, tons of stuff going on, and I'm just like, why am I so bored during a car chase?
Because you've seen the best car chase in San Francisco. The best car chase ever done for a movie in San Francisco was done in a movie 40 freaking years ago! Or however long ago Bullet was released. Jesus.
And the end fight scene with Riot was just
You
a
couldn't tell.
mess.
You couldn't tell what was going on half the time.
What was it? This
What
was
was
a
even
visual
going
mess.
What was even going on?
And what I find hilarious is that his ex-fiancée and her boyfriend are helping him find out what's wrong with him, and I'm like, what is this? The side characters trying to help him out are actually competent? You never see that. It's always, it's something else you don't have to worry about. You got a bug or something, or lay off the caffeine.
Sure.
But no, they right away figure out what's wrong with him.
I mean, at the very least, it's discovered that it really was affecting his internal organs quite a bit. But yeah, I mean, this like we've already said it. Like this is.
How many times can we say?
Yeah, honestly, like if you want to go watch it, go watch it. Just whatever. I have a hard time saying that I wasted my money, but at the same time, I kind of wish I could have put that money to better use. I think that's just the best way to say it.
So, until next time.